Well, good evening, everyone. This is Master Coordinator Joanne Nistico. It's great to see so many wonderful, familiar faces. Tonight is OPA Masters Call, our monthly OPA Masters Call. And all of you, I think most of you know that Mary Loomis and Gary Loomis started the organization called Organic Products Associates, which has many master coordinators in its line. And we masters within the OPA group take a monthly call to give the information that we're working with to help build our businesses. And we hope that tonight will be as helpful to you as it has been for me and for Carolyn. I'm very happy that Carolyn's my immediate upline master, and we've worked many years together in Shackley to develop from humble distributors to directors to moving up the ranks to master coordinator together. And it's been a wonderful journey. I'm very grateful and thankful for the legacy that Shackley provides us, because it's a great business to stick with it. And one of my terms was quitting was never an option. There were too many wonderful benefits, too many freedoms. And the fact that I could create a legacy for myself and my children was exactly what I wanted and what I worked for. So I hope that what we're sharing with you tonight will help impart to you some of the thoughts and ideas that have helped us make master, because I can sincerely say that if I have made master coordinator, each of you can as well. I have no talents other than, I would say, stick-to-itiveness, working on personal development, and having a dream. What we're going to be talking about in the beginning is the 77 Master Coordinator Vision. And wouldn't it be great that we have many, many more OPA Master Coordinators rising up the rank. We have Alan Sherapin, who is the former MEC chair, got all the masters together to sort of create a think tank. What do the master leaders want to do? How do we want to help lead our organizations to duplicate what we have the privilege of being and becoming? So I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn, and I may even call on Alan and then maybe any of the masters here who were in, where were we at that time? I've traveled so much this year. Nashville, were we? So that I think that they can impart a few ideas on what they saw at that meeting. Because when you get that feeling and that camaraderie and that mastermind group of people thinking alike, there is just such an incredible impetus that creates things. So Carolyn, why don't you start with this little dialogue on the 77 Master Coordinator Vision?
Sure. Thanks, Joanne. And I always think it's nice to also put things in perspective. As Joanne said, everything begins with a vision. And it begins with a vision and a decision and something that doesn't seem really attainable. And I can tell you that Joanne and I can go back to times sleeping on each other's couches, all kinds of whatever scenarios you can imagine about that, kicking one of the kids out of the bed so someone could sleep over, eating peanut butter sandwiches in order to support and sustain ourselves. The idea of, and Joanne, when we were first starting our businesses, started in Washington, D.C. and Connecticut. So I would be flying up there to visit. We didn't have the luxury of Zoom calls and phone calls. And so it literally was pull out your credit card and pay $50 a month on the credit card in order to be able to afford the plane ticket to go up and visit with Joanne and the rest of the group. And so when we talk about, if anybody thinks, oh my gosh, it's such a big vision to become a master, please start where you are and just know that there probably aren't any stories that you are going through that we have not already also experienced. And so, gosh, it's the other thing I want to say is actually Joanne was actually a master coordinator before I was. And it was her vision that really stimulated me and many of us to make the decision that okay, wherever we are, it's time for another master. And Joanne made that decision, was honored as the, I think the only master coordinator in that year. And it was kind of like, okay, I guess maybe
she
it's
can
my
do it.
turn. No, it was like, maybe it's my turn. So whatever's stopping me, it's about time. So I say those stories for all of us, just so we realize that you may think this comes with all kinds of, dessert and gravy and all the rest of that, but there's plenty of peanut butter sandwiches that are and exploded credit cards and things like that in order to make it happen. The other thing that I think is important is, why talk about thinking about master? I think I remember distinctly having a conversation with, and Joanne would remember even when this was someone that was down at her group that was kind of building and growing and very active. But her conversation was, I can't imagine working any harder and having to work so hard as a master coordinator, because I'm having trouble keeping the people that are in my group, which at that time was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 business leaders. I can't imagine having a large group of business leaders, because you'd be exhausted. And I said, it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite, because can you imagine developing a business organization where you have independent business leaders like Joanne, who take on her own organization, who are doing her own thing, the people like Majorans and Sherpans and the other leaders. When those people are people that we work around and in their group, they take care of their organization. It's the ultimate in delegating, as opposed to going, oh my gosh, I've got more people I've got to deal with. And I think that's a really valuable concept for us to think about, because the more we look at partnering with and developing leaders, the easier our business can actually get. Now, that may sound like it's contrary, but I think it's really important. And that's a real acknowledgement for people like Joanne, who she does her own thing. I mean, if she invites me to do something, I'm honored, but she doesn't need it. She's got her own group and takes care of her own people. So thanks, Joanne. And at some point, I want you to also talk about the invitation that you had this past week. And I don't know if this is the right time, but that was a pretty big honor.
Let's hear from the Sherpans, and then we'll hear from the Medorans, because I think, this is very important for each of you that are on, that want to be one of the masters coming out. I will say, coming up in the 70th, one thing I will say that happened to me when my brain made that switch. I was a struggling sales leader for many, many years, and couldn't figure out, I had to figure out why I was struggling the times that I struggled. And I remember that I had to watch what other masters were doing. And I started to model what they were doing versus what I was doing. So I had that mental switch. And in 1 year, I did more in 1 year than I'd done in 10 years. So don't think it can't happen quickly. That's something that you got to get out of your brain, because when you make that, and Jim Burke said it, you have to be congruent with your vision along with your action with your vision. And when you're congruent with your vision and the feeling of your vision and the action with your vision, that's when magical things happen. So let's hear from Hannah and Alan briefly on the 70-70 and then the Medorans. What insights do you feel that you want to contribute to the group on making and going for master?
Thank you very much, Joanne and Carolyn. Well, it's very exciting. Would you all like to be in a group of excited, building, growing people to master coordinator? Say yes or put your hand up if you'd like that. Okay, here's what you do. If you're a key coordinator or a senior key coordinator now, then you have the opportunity to join a very special group. This is a group of people, key coordinators and senior key coordinators, that are going to meet on a monthly basis at least. Roland Osterhaus will be spearheading the call to give motivation and information It'll be fantastic. Now, if you're not a key coordinator or a senior key coordinator, then I really urge you, talk to your upline and say, I want to get there, and build the key when? Now, okay? Say yes if you're going for it.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I'm not, yes. Okay, Barb and Ray.
Yeah,
Hannah, do you want to add anything? Excuse me, hey, Ray, just a second. Hannah, did you want to add anything before we jump to Ray?
Well, Alan really said it all and said it well. I think that it is just a decision. When you decide, you brought up Jim Burke before, and I can remember when we were on our path, and he would come up to us and he'd say, each year at the conference, he'd say, are you yet? We'd say, no, but we're working on it. Well, meanwhile, he kept saying, as soon as I'll know it when it's in your eyes, I'll see it. And the year that we made it, he looked at me and said, yep, I can see it now. And it was the next month that we made master.
It's a good point.
It's such a
Excellent point.
mindset business. So we hope you all will choose the mindset that gets you where you want to go.
So to join this group, send an email to Roland Osterhaus and go to Facebook 70 by 70th, or talk to your upline master to get registered and enrolled in this very exciting, elite, superior Shackley group.
Thank you, guys. Ray and Barb.
Yeah, I want to talk just a minute about what happened in Nashville, because I think it was significant. You know, we've all heard that it's all in the setup. And Ellen Sherpin and the MEC set this up for us to be in Nashville. And what they set up was, excuse my French, but this is not going to be a bitch session. We're not there for that. We're there to come up with ideas and ways to help Shackley grow. And that's exactly what they did. I always said that if you get 100 master coordinators together, you got 100 different ideas. That didn't happen in Nashville. We spoke with one voice. And I can't thank Alan and the MEC enough for setting that up the way they set it up, because we did a lot. And that's where we came up with the 70 and 70. Actually, we had more than that. And we toned it down to 70 and 70. So you guys would have been proud of your master coordinators and what they accomplished in those 2 days in Nashville, because we for the first time, I've heard the master coordinators pretty much speak with one voice. And I was just, I was amazed, and I was just really extraordinarily happy the way that turned out. And I think because of that meeting we had and the way that Alan and the crew handled it, that we're going to do the 70 and 70.
Thank you. Barb. You're on mute, Barb.
I ditto everything that's been said. And then those calls with the keys and senior keys with Roland are every Thursday morning. And I think they're 8:30 our time, and we're 8 o'clock at any rate. We're on Pacific time, so it's 3 hours difference Eastern time. But we got an email today through Marty Frederick, and he has all the information on that. So talk to your upline master if you qualify for that, and get in touch with Roland, and we'd love to have you on, because it's a group that it changes your thinking. You know, your thinking has to change in order to become a master. And then if you can work at that even more, it makes a big difference.
Thank you. Well, the second topic is how master and leader development thinking actually drives sponsoring and growth. And I think that is something that I have found, and I'll just share a little bit. And this is sort of a roundtable. If you have some questions and you want to raise your hand, this isn't a lecture. This is kind of us getting together in my house. And I want you to be relaxed and comfortable to feel that you can ask some questions. So if something pops up, write down your questions, because those may be things that could kind of get you launched into your next rank advancement even. Let's look at rank advancements. But sponsoring and leader development thinking actually does drive sponsoring growth. Since this 70 and 70th have come up, my juices brain and everything's been going crazy with ideas and excitement and feelings of what I can do to help our team move forward and make master. And Hannah said it beautifully. I'm looking for that light in your eyes. I'm looking for the laser-like focus, and I can look at you and say, this person is ready to go to work. And I remember when working with Mary Loomis, when she would say jump, I would say, how high? And I could never go high enough, but I kept going higher, inch by inch, life's a cinch, So don't worry about if it doesn't look like it's happened before. Know that, get that light in your eye. And how does that happen? How do you think you get the light in your eye? Well, first of all, I hope you all have a written vision of being a master and what it feels like to be masters. That's an assignment, let's say. Write down, well, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning as a webmaster coordinator? What does your day look like? What are your experiences? What do you say to the people that you're friends with and family with? So journal it out and get that and read it every morning of how that feels to be a master coordinator. You kind of have to walk the talk. I remember going to the grocery store and saying, it feels really good to grocery shop as a master coordinator. I feel really good about this. What is it, simple things of daily things, waking up as a master. How do you jump out of bed as a master? So started getting the biorhythm in the feeling nature, and then things start to open up for you. Then windows open up, then the air starts flowing through, and then you start seeing different successes, and just keep doing it. Carolyn, you have any thoughts about what that happened with sponsoring is going up in my group, sponsoring is going up for me, and growth thinking is happening for me just by the sheer thought of my doubling my master coordinatorship?
Well, I think that the thinking and the desire to have an organization develop, the next thing it is, well, who's going to come along and join you? So, for example, Joanne and I would sit together, on the floor in the living room, whatever, and say, who do we want to invite to join us, either as a product consumer or someone who could benefit from what we have to offer, or who are the kinds of people we'd like to have as a partner. And so automatically we begin thinking about sponsoring. It's not like I've got to go get someone signed up. It's like we're creating an organization that wants to be a magnet for other people, for both the product side and also for the business side. And that's where some of the communications things that I know we're going to talk about come up. But one of the very first things that any of us would do if you're sitting down with someone or even creating the vision is to really start talking about who do you want to have join you, and then where are you going to find these people. So it may be, gosh, I don't have a big list of people. Well, if you don't have a big list of people, you got a couple of choices. You better either go join some places, become active in the community, get yourself on social media, but find some way to begin connecting, because staying at home and just thinking about it is not going to be the answer. So what it does is it requires us to get into a new level of personal development. And I think that's something that all of us would say, is that from the very, very beginning, what we knew is that we had to develop ourselves in order to create the organization that we wanted to have, and also in order to be able to attract the people that would be the next kinds of leaders in our groups. So, that's where it starts. But leadership thinking creates sponsoring. Sponsoring does not necessarily create leadership thinking. So we get to make that first decision ourselves. And thanks, Joanne, for just, for the conversation for this.
Well, that's so true. Sponsoring doesn't create leadership. Leadership creates proper sponsoring. And the important thing is, what's the purpose? I think the purpose is also very critical. Your purpose we go back to the why. I knew my why of why I needed to make master coordinator. I had to support 2 children on my own, so I better up my game. and increase my income. And that was a good motivator for me. And sometimes when you don't have that, you have to have your own purpose that is burning a fire within you to really want to do the work. But what is the purpose behind it? And what's your priority? What's your priority for the day? As I said, you know, when you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? Well, you know, we all have our routines that we do in the morning, but you don't start your day unless you're thinking like a master coordinator. That's the way you have to start your day if you want to be a master coordinator. And you have to go about your day with that thought process. And I used to have a saying, the reason so few people think is because it's so very hard to do. It's very hard to keep a good focus of intention and priority. So there's a book called, and I think Jeff Hill turned us onto the book called The One Thing. It's focusing on the one thing that really will help you get there, because our days are distracting. I know my dogs distract me. I mean, you know, they want to look at me, they want to be walked, they want attention, they want, you know, me to do things for them. Now that I don't have children around, they're like my kids. But you want to then get into productivity. So you have purpose, priority, and productivity into the activities that produce the kind of results that you want to see. So it's a directed purpose on it. I believe in the reticulator activator system. I believe that what we think about comes about. I mean, we were raised on Dr. Shackley's philosophy, right? And so what we put in our brain is what happens. And it's so very hard to contemplate and concentrate with a laser-like focus on the appropriate behavior and attention that you want to put in a day. So it takes discipline. Hannah? You're on mute, Hannah.
All right. Going along with that, and when you were talking about such a mindset, as you and Carolyn have brought that up, I think all of us have brought that up in one way or another. And it just came to mind, the very first time we got to meet Mary Lewis, she was guest speaking in New York, and we drove, we'd only been in business 28 days, and we drove to hear her speak. And she said something that day that we've never forgotten and lived by. And I think it's really helped to know that, as she put it, the only difference between master coordinators and everybody else is master coordinators get knocked down more often than anybody else. The only difference is they keep getting back up.
That's great.
Very true. We get black and blue. We get false so many times. But, you know, you got to get right back up. You know, is the glass half full? Sometimes it looks, we can all tell you stories that, you know, I mean, I had two men that were building under me that were really going gangbusters. And they looked at me and they said, "We're going to blow your doors in." I said, "Oh, please do." But they're not into here today. You know, so don't worry about going fast and furious. Sometimes, you know, it is the tortoise versus the hare that really creates the foundational success for yourself. However, if you want massive growth this year, it's time to turn up the burners. It's time to really get, you know, 2 years of concentrated, focused, directed energy with the right activity will get you there. The right thinking, the right activity, and with a laser-like focus, you'll definitely see increases in your business and rank increases. Carolyn, one thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you see as similar in building to Master today as it was when we made Master? What similarities do you see today that can be duplicated?
I think the clarity and focus, because for me, the building to master, it may sound like a title and all the rest of that, but for me, it is a clarity and focus of wanting to have more impact. Because honestly, if we work solo, if we create a modest business with a modest number of customers, if we're really looking at the impact we have, it's limited. It's limited by that small number of people. If with a change of focus, but still activity, if our change of focus happens, our organization multiplies in quantum numbers because of having leaders like Joanne and like Majorans and Sherpins and because they each create their own monstrous development. And I'm very motivated by a commitment to contribute. I mean, that's a strong motivator for me. And so if I want to contribute, the larger my organization is, the more people we have a chance to touch and to contribute to, whether it is product wise, whether it is business wise, whether it's perhaps just being able to provide something positive that people can see in life that is not defined by any of the standard things that are out there, but that is mutually inclusive, a community that's supportive. So I think those things are the same. I think they'll always be the same. And I think our commitment to attracting that and working with it is so valuable. And that's the reason why, Joanne, as I know you go on to talk about communications and how do we create these conversations,
Yeah.
then those, I mean, we've got a whole lot different, better skills and tools that we can use now, but the fundamentals are going to be the same.
And that was the second question. What do you see as different in building master than today than it was in our day?
Well, my gosh, we've got such different technology. You got the world right here in front of you, for
Right.
heaven's sakes. I mean, between technology and social media and Zooms and all the rest of this, I mean, there's so many extraordinarily additional benefits that are available to us. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily easier, because in some ways it's more complicated. There's too much going on. Ray's got an addition. Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to pick up
She doing
just a
now?
little bit on what Joanne said, because I think it's really, really important is to think like a master. You know, Barb and I were senior keys for over a year and stuck at senior key. And I think we've all heard Roland and other people say, you know, you can't surpass your thinking. So if your thinking is here and you want to be here, you've got to elevate your thinking. You got to start thinking like a master. You've got to act like a master. You got to talk like a master. And do you have to know everything about what it is to be a master? You'll figure it out as you go, but you got to start thinking that I am a master coordinator. And that's what we did. And we made a decision. We're going to do in 6 weeks what we were unable to do in over a year. And that's make master coordinator, and we did it. But because we made a decision and we changed our thinking, those two things are just critical. I'm glad Joanne brought that up.
Yeah, up level. My children call it up leveling. You need to up level, mom, which is appropriate in our Shackley world for sure. Carolyn wanted me to just touch on briefly some exciting thing I had happened to me. I had a call from Kathy Keating. I actually was in an appointment in Washington, D.C., sitting, waiting for someone. And she goes, "Can you talk?" I said, "Well, I'm waiting for somebody." She goes, "Well, would you be available for an opportunity tomorrow?" I said, "Sure, you know, I'll be open." And it turned out that the White House had contacted Roger and Kathy to say that Kamala Harris was going to be in Richmond, Virginia, and that he could have 2 of his reps, 2 small business owners. It was for small business owners to go and attend. So I did go to Richmond and was able to attend this wonderful event. Got a wonderful picture with the Vice President of the United States. And it was a beautiful location. Actually, it was for small business owners. And the topic was well put, that, you know, support small businesses, that they're the backbone of our country. They're owned by regular everyday people in your town. And they were featuring a company that was started by a young group of people at Virginia Commonwealth University, which is a biosphere growing of vegetable, like lettuces and herbs and edible flowers that could be put into senior homes and corporations and high schools. So it was really fascinating. It was well done, and I am pleased to say I've been invited. And I had a great day because Dr. Kalichi was there. Many of you may know her. She's been featured, and what a remarkable, wonderful woman she is. I mean, talk about attitude, talk about positive thinker. It was just really a great experience for me. So what will go on to the next topic, how to use questions are the answers by Alan Pease. So let me pull up a piece of, let me share something here that I have. Okay, this is, how many have heard of this book? I'm sure everyone on this call has heard of this book. I'll show you down here the book. Questions are the answers. Can you see this, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, you can order that book. I ordered the book. What was really interesting was when I was in Chicago to see Dr. Queso, Marty Frederick gave me a little piece of paper. Can you see this? I'm holding it up in my camera. Is that showing up?
It's hard to see, but that's
It's hard
okay.
to see, but it says the same things that you're going to see here. It's a system that is Alan Pease talks about, and I looked at it. This was before I'd even gotten Alan Pease, and I said, "Oh, Marty, can I have that? I love that." And so I came home, and what I did was I created 2 business cards from this, and I said, "I like this because if I meet someone, I can ask them those questions. What is your number 1 priority?" And it has all these benefits like extra income, financial freedom. And I made the card stock so that I could write on it. So let's say I'm meeting with my dental hygienist, which just happened to happen recently, a new one. And this would be something I would use with her. And what would be her number 1 priority? Well, she was pregnant and she might have wanted to contribute to helping others. That was one of her big things. But you can ask these questions and write their name. The questions behind it are, why did you pick what?
Snapshot it quickly.
A snapshot. I'll send it to you. I'll put it on, but it's interesting. I just turned them into some business cards. So let's run through this. Carolyn, I'm going to have you run through this beginning part and then we'll go into it because I think you could probably cover a lot of what, this is your piece of paper here that you wrote up.
You want me to do this part?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, let's say I'm meeting Joanne. I run into her in a coffee shop or whatever, and we haven't seen each other for a while. And so the first question I can ask is, do you know why people start a business like the one I'm in, like the Shackley business? And as it says, the beauty of the simple question is that if Joanne says, no, I have no idea, then I can say, would you like to know? Or if she says yes, then you know, why in the world would anybody do it? And of course, there may be some real reasons, or there may be some things that she may not know very much about it, but she may say, you know, so you don't have to go work a real 9-to-5 job or whatever it is. And with the sequence of a dialogue that I think Joanne's going to show us, or at least give us a link to, that you can listen to and study.
Yeah,
And-
we're gonna show the example after you go through this, Carolyn, of how
Okay.
this gentleman is going to go through it. Because I
Okay,
know this is just a written script that we'll have. I'll give it to Scott and he'll have it there. So if someone says yes, Alan Pease gives you a great detail on how to do what we're talking about. And it's so simple. What I also loved about it was he talks about percentages. That he says, don't deviate from the script, use the script. That's why I did the cards, because I will not remember all those questions and I will not do it perfectly. That's just the way my ADD personality works. But if I get the drift of it and I have something in my hands, I'll feel a little more comfortable with it. But if the person says, you know, you say to them, let me show you, you would ask them, what's your number 1 priority? So which really relates to everyone's needs these days. Do you want extra income, financial freedom, have your own business, more spare time, personal development, contribution in helping others, meeting new people, retirement, and leave a legacy? I used this at one of the meetings that I did, and it was a gentleman I did not know. And he said, well, what's that? I showed him my card. I said, well, of all these things here, what would be your number 1 priority? And he said, personal development. Then what you do is you ask the next 5 solid gold questions. And I bold these so you can see them. Here are the 5 solid gold questions. Why did you pick that one? Well, it turns out he is in Shackley, and he said, well, you know, I am in the Shackley business, and I realize I need to work on myself harder so that I can move up in the business. And I said, well, why is that so important to you? Well, it's important to me because I see the value of what the business has to offer me, and I don't feel that I'm getting and doing the service that I can to people as I go forward. And I said, well, what are the consequences of you not having this opportunity in your life? And then he proceeded to share that with me about why Shackley was so important. And then you say, why would that worry you? So you're getting, the whole process of this is to getting into someone's emotions and getting into someone's feeling. Not that you have to, and you can say, tell me more. You know, you can say, well, what does that mean to you? You don't have to go right through these 4 questions. I suggest you all get the book though, because it does require, he has some really wonderful examples of using different techniques for making positive impressions to people. So if you don't have the skills that you feel confident, which I know I never did, this book itself will definitely help you. What I'm going to share now with you is going to be about a few minute. That's not what I want. It's
Actually, at my invitation, Richard is on the call with us also.
Oh, hi,
so
Richard. I
he's-
hope you don't mind. We're going to show you.
He's gonna hear himself.
Okay, well, you did a great job.
The questions are be answered by Alan Pease, P-E-A-S-E.
You got a screen share, Joanne, we're not
and
getting
Okay,
it.
sorry.
online ver-
And I have to probably put on sound too.
We got the audio, we just didn't get the video.
Okay.
Or maybe there. Did we do a video? Was there a video? Or was
I
it
just have
audio?
to do share sound. That's what I need. Okay. Thank you.
version of it, but and if I do, I'll put it in the chat box. But how Marty taught me how to do it is before you do much of anything else, you say, do you know why people start a network business like Shackley? And get that question out right in front. You know, I know Case Out talked about it in Chicago about using the word case Shackley soon in the program. And if people say no, then that gives you permission to go to say, well, let me show you. If people say, yes, I know why people start, you say why, and is there anything else, and is there anything else, and is there anything else? And when they're done, then you show these topics and say, well, let me show you why people do this. Which one of these is most important to you right now? And there's no one right answer, just pick one. And then the questions that go along with that are, why did you pick that one? Why is that important to you? What happens if you don't achieve it? What would that look like? What would that feel like? And he spends time exploring the painful options of not achieving it, right? And so then what's your plan to achieve it? And if you have a plan, great. Is it going to meet your needs in the next 3 to 5 years? And if you don't have a plan, would you like to hear one? And that gets people in a state of readiness to listen to the opportunity.
And see, that is beautiful. You want to read out the options that you give people, telling them it doesn't make any difference which one, but are there any of these things? Do you guys understand why this process and how this fits and how valuable this is? Do you see this? It's not just kind of like, oh yeah, we're going around a circle.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Richard.
This lets you find out from someone very quickly what they're interested in. And, you know, we've been studying about how to ask questions and asking 7 questions and keep going. Well, this gets it right away to the issue of what's important to you at this moment. I've had college students say, leave a legacy. And I've had college students say, financial freedom. And I've had people who are more closer to our age say things like personal development or more spare time. I want to be with my children more.
You want to
And-
read those different options, Richard? So do you see
Did you
how
write these two?
important these first two steps are? And do you see how valuable it is to really have these and have the tools and be able to do this? Is this helpful? So you want to like role play it for a minute?
Yeah, so
Richard, role play it with somebody. Role play it with somebody we haven't talked to. Betsy. Say hello to Betsy.
Betsy.
Yeah,
Betsy.
Betsy.
are you there, Betsy?
I am.
So, do you know why people start a networking business like Shackley?
For a variety of reasons. Yeah, I've got some ideas.
Well, what are they? What kinds of things do you know?
Entrepreneurial spirit, like to decide what they want to do when.
Anything else?
Unlimited income.
Okay.
They can have fun with the people that they're with, and they get to choose who they are.
Sounds like you know something about this. Anything else?
Life's a journey, and you just, it's nice to have fun helping other people along the way.
Nice. Anything else?
That's a good start.
Okay. Can I show you?
Sure.
Okay. And that's when I show this list.
Okay.
And I'll bring it up and say, so these are some of those reasons. Now, for you, Betsy, if you were going to have to pick one today, right now, for your current situation, which of these would be the most important to you right now? I'm sorry, not which ones. Which one is the most important to you now? Sorry.
Financial freedom is the most important one right now.
Really?
Yes.
And can I ask why is that important?
Because I am tired of living paycheck to paycheck and not afraid to do this now.
Really? Well, that's interesting. So can I ask you some more things? So you have something in mind for financial, for more income, right?
Yes.
Freedom. Okay. So do you have a plan for doing that now?
No.
Okay. So if you weren't able to achieve that in the next 3 to 5 years, what would your life be like?
I'd be sleeping in my car.
Ooh. Ooh, and I'm guessing that's not a camper.
No.
Okay. Would that worry you?
Yeah. A lot.
So you need a plan B or an option, right?
Yes.
And you're looking for an option.
Yes.
Can I share one with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Now, if I understand you correctly, you'd like to be able to have some cash flow, let me put it that way, or income that you could do, that you could see that you could do, right? That
Yes.
seems reachable for you, that could provide you with some independent income outside of what you're already doing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, sounds like this is a great place for us to start. Can I tell you a little bit about what we're doing?
I would love to hear it.
Okay. By the way, do you like working with teams of people or do you like to work by yourself?
I like to do both.
Really?
Yep.
That makes you like a leader if you like to be off on your own and by yourself. Is that right?
Well, I like to do small groups of people and do one-on-one type things.
Sounds like also if there was a good mission, a good reason for doing something, you could get behind it.
Absolutely.
And so what
And
are the
stay there.
Right. So what are the things that really get you to say, these are the things that I'm really committed to in my life to support and enhance and promote and advocate.
As in actions,
Mm,
as in ideals.
yes, all of those.
I like to listen to people. People feel comfortable talking to me about themselves.
Mhm.
I like being authentic and honoring people and helping them to be their best selves. If there's a way to improve something and that we can all get behind it together, those are the types of things that I like. I like building teams like that.
Okay. So are there any missions that are things that you're more attracted to than others?
Families, health, nutrition.
Okay.
Avoiding toxins. That's been my life.
So, leaving the earth in a better place than we found it, sort of a thing.
Absolutely.
And so if you could work with a team of people that had that mission and that they had a worldwide mission or a lifetime mission to do that, those would be kind of people you'd want to meet and hang out with.
Absolutely.
Right. And if there was an organization that had as its mission to win the Nobel Peace Prize, what would you think about that?
Oh, well, I'd say they were on the right track.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing I ever heard. When I heard this company said their goal was to win the Nobel Peace Prize, it's like, that's like makes my head explode.
Yeah.
Well,
That takes you a little bit beyond the blue zone, folks.
With
And I'm
that,
not knocking them.
so would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I need a plan. So that's where I'm heading in that direction. Perfect. Thank you. Yes.
How's that? Is that enough?
Richard, that was stellar. That was
Stella.
absolutely stellar. That was brilliant.
Okay, yes, I agree. Applause. Sure. What a great job that was.
And Richard is on the call with us.
Yes,
Listening in.
hi, Richard. It was excellent, Richard. You were very natural. It was so smooth that you didn't seem nervous. You related to the person, and that takes practice. That takes skill. I'm sure you've practiced it quite a bit. Is that correct? You can unmute for a second.
Yes, if I
You're
was,
so good at it.
thank you. I have learned this all from this book, Marty and Roland. I have to say, once I learned that when I was building a relationship and the trust is not, until there's trust, there's no second step, then I can take as long as I want, as long as they want to develop what's that look like. Because the more she created this vision, the easier it was for me to, I was like saying, not yet, not yet, not yet, don't do it yet, don't do it yet. And I've learned that, and I don't think I've been comfortable with it except for the last 3 or 4 months. So I've done a lot of it, but it's critical. Once that I realized I don't have
Holding back,
I
holding
don't have
back.
to, right. I don't have to be a business. I don't have to do a business presentation in the first 45 minutes if it's not working.
Right, trust is everything first. It's very true, because when I had my dental hygienist and she was really buying into a lot of the conversation we were having, I had to hold myself back because I really wanted to share so much more. And then I just gave her a little taste of something that I knew I could invite her to. And I asked her if I could have her email address. If she was interested, I'd send her the information. And she said yes, sent me her email, but I really held back because I can fire hose people, as we all can. And that's really a great example of waiting, taking some deep breaths when you're really talking to somebody, getting that trust developed, and then they're with you, can be with you for a lifetime. Well, thank you very much for letting us share that, because it was very well done. We're going to close with one little topic that I know is on everyone's mind, and I can't say too much because I was invited with my couple of my team to be on the wellness, consumer education, and customer development program. Now that's what we're calling it. Actually, Carolyn came up with that, and I think it's so appropriate for this project that Shackley will be showing and launching in August. It's wellness, consumer education, and customer development program that was founded by Christy Lyons. And you masters, one of the things that I've done that will really ease your minds to help your teams understand it is Christy, when Shackley invited us masters to invite a few people that we felt wanted to make a run for masters. Remember, Christy showed us the presentation, and it's on Facebook. The whole presentation was recorded and is on Facebook. If you want to know what the wellness program is that I'm a part of, watch that video clip. You can share that video clip with your group. You can take notes because basically that's all they're sharing with us. Shackley's kind of adapting it to what Shackley wants to adapt it to, but watch Christie's presentation because that's the right way to do it. But here's, for example, one of the slides from that video clip. Am I sharing my screen? No. Let me share my screen. So she talks about a marketing pipeline and that you start a free group, you create a free group, and what is provided and will be provided by Shackley, which isn't currently up to snuff right now, so you're not missing anything because it's still in the whole development program. But it's, again, masters, rewatch Christie's presentation, share it with your group. They'll have a preconceived understanding of what she's doing and how she's doing it, so that when they get to August and Shackley launches it, they'll be way ahead of the curve. So, she starts with a free group, and my team, I was lucky. I chose 2 on my team that were ready for it. I wouldn't have been able to do this without them because there's a lot of content creation, or it's through Facebook. So you have to post quite a bit of stuff. So if you're not IT savvy enough, it's really not for you. However, this program is adaptable to Zoom. It's adaptable to inviting people into your Zoom room to do the same thing. So don't feel you have to be an IT expert because that is not the total necessity. But she talks about starting with a free group, and the free group was eating from the rainbow. And then there's 5 days of different information on eating from the rainbow that you go through, and people dialogue and talk about it. And this is a new group. These are non-Shackley consumers at the moment. So you get a list of people. One of the things that I had done last year was I did 1 post a day for a year. I made my commitment to myself that I would post something every day for a year because I was fishing. And I wanted to see who was liking my posts that was not a part of Shackley. And I ended up getting about 80 names. So that was one of the ideas that I did. And I never approached them really about Shackley. So now I'm going to have a free group developed that I can invite people to. Eat the Rainbow. The second free group is doing a pantry cleanup, but you're educating people on how to improve their lives through different healthy concepts. And then you go take that group and invite them to what's called a VIP group, where they have packages available to continue their community with the people that we've created in the free group. And then from there, you can do an opportunity event, which my team is following this exactly. The first free group, one of the ladies got 4 new members and one lady got 1 who did a $300 order. Then the customer group is being worked on, and there's momentum and creativity. They're now doing an opportunity event that they're created. And then we're going to go to an ambassador onboarding and checklist. So this is basically the process And then when someone really wants to launch their business, they do a business launch group. Now, we all know that this is something we've all done. It's just done in a systematic way by getting new people in, by doing free group events to educate consumers to join a community of like-minded people who want to create a better world for themselves and their families. It's pretty simple. And the worst thing we can do is complicate it, which I think can happen when some people start changing it too much. That's all I have to share on that. Does anyone want to ask any questions before we close down the meeting?
Yeah, Joanne, you said that's on Facebook. It's on Christie's page, or where is it on Facebook?
It's actually on the masters group, so you would ask whichever master you have connection with to see if they, Carolyn I know has the information and she has the clip. So you can actually get it through Carolyn, right? I don't want to give Carolyn any more work, but you can definitely, what I did was I shared it when you can go to the Facebook master group with a master and they can play the clip that is there. That would just show Christie's portion. But it's well worth studying, Dean, because she definitely is a great marketer and does it with fun and enthusiasm. You want to be a part of her community. You want to be a part of the momentum that's happening. And I think sometimes we try to teach and educate, whereas people are looking for relief and want to join something that has a lot of fun with it. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for being patient and getting in the Zoom tonight. I see that I think Sue and Scott are on a cruise to Alaska. Is that where you are, Sue? Lucky you, I'm jealous. But thank you very much for putting it all together. And Carolyn, thank you so much for helping me this evening and all you other masters that are helping us mentor and support the OPA group. So thank you.
Joanne, thanks for your leadership.
All right.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.